Hello, writing students. This is a proofreading review to help you with preparing to do your writing, to do your proofreading. For grammar students, you may be taking tests that are standardized, and this will help you identify mistakes that are often shown in writing or created in writing. I like to tell my students they want to develop uh, eagle eyes. Eagle eyes spot things very far away. You watch the eagle, he flies or she flies over the water hunting for food, and then you see the eagle swooping down and coming up with a fish. So now you're going to have eagle eyes to proofread any writing, whether it's somebody else's writing or your own. First rule is to write complete sentences. So you should avoid fragments and check to see if they could be attached to a previous or following sentence. This is often the mistake that is made. Avoid run-ons. If there is no punctuation at the point where the two sentences come together, then it's considered a run-on. Look at this example. John and Mary took a vacation in Rome and they visited the Vatican while they were there. And you can see several subjects and predicates here. Mary and John took, they visited, even they were. Let's start with the one in the back. While they were there. Well, that's a fragment, so I'm not worried about creating a run-on. Adding a bunch of fragments together into a complete sentence doesn't usually make a problem for run-ons. John and Mary took, I have that, and then I have they visited. And notice here between the two sentences I have the word and. And as you notice, actually nowhere in this sentence is there punctuation. There's no punctuation here where the two sentences come together. So there should be some kind of punctuation. In this case, and needs a comma. If there's only a comma where two sentences come together, there's no conjunction, or maybe there's just a comma, and that could be a semicolon, then it's considered a comma splice. Look at this one. Susan and Mike went to Florida to see relatives. An alligator ran in front of their car. So we have Susan and Mike went, and then we have an alligator ran. So those are two sentences, two sets of subjects and predicates. And you can see an alligator ran in front of their car is a complete sentence by itself. So right here where the two sentences come together, there's just a comma. So that should either be a semicolon, you could add a conjunction, leaving the comma, you could add a conjunction, or create a two sentences joined together with just a semicolon, and that would correct this comma splice. Here's some more proofreading checklist items. Check all your S's. That will cover subject-verb agreement, especially since that affects the present tense of verbs. It also will have you check possessive mistakes and plural mistakes, and I'll review all of those. So nouns are made plural with an S or changing the spelling. But whatever you do, in order to make them plural, don't use an apostrophe. You use an apostrophe to create a possessive word, a word that shows ownership. So let's look at these sentences and see if we can find the mistakes. Sarah's car has two seats in the rear. She doesn't like the children's toys in the car. Jesus's pen has 5 ponies in it. Where are the man's books? So let's look at all the S's. So we have an S on Sarah. So we check to see, can Sarah own the car in this situation? And it looks like it does. Then we have an S on seats. So I want to say, well, can it own the word afterwards? No, it can't own the word in. So 2 seats, and this is the correct plural. So this just needs an apostrophe with Sarah. She doesn't like the children's toys in the car. So I don't have I have one word children's, another word toys. So I need to see if one can own the other. So I'm looking for 2 nouns together. And children's toys. And children isn't spelled plural with an S, it's just children. So the question is, do the children own the toys? And it sounds like it does. So I need an apostrophe right here. There's also another apostrophe missing here, and it hasn't anything to do with plural or possessive, but has to do with this spelling here, and in that case it's a contraction, so that needs an apostrophe as well. Jesus's pen has 5 ponies in it. So I have Jesus and pen. You say, well, I don't see any extra S's here. Jesus is spelled with an S, but I've got Jesus and pen together, 2 nouns, so it must mean that Jesus owns the pen. So I need to add an apostrophe here. Of course, I wouldn't add it here because that would mess up the spelling of Jesus. So I would need to put the apostrophe here. I don't need an extra S because Jesus has an S and it's 2 syllables. Then I have ponies. So first of all, again, do I need to make it possessive? Well, ponies can't own the word in, but I do have this number, so this is plural, and that's spelled correctly. Where are the man's books? Man's and books, and man, well, you don't make it plural with an S, so men books? No, maybe it's just the man has many books, so I want to put an apostrophe here. And here are the corrections. So when we're talking about subject-verb agreement, singular verbs have an S. So that's another S mistake that's made. So I don't have any verbs in these blanks, but I could put verbs in them. Everybody runs. John runs. The child runs. So in that case, I have an S on each of the verbs. Plural verbs have no S. That means that you use a plural verb with a plural subject and you don't put an S on the verb. Some run, men run, children run. So subject-verb agreement also affects, most commonly, people make the mistake of how it works with pronouns or indefinite pronouns. So here's a few cases to look at. Everyone eats. So I know everyone, any word that ends in one means that it's singular. So everyone eats, so I need an S. All of the children, and all in this case, it could be singular or plural, but I've got children here, so it should have no S on the eat. Then I have situations where it's joined with an or. And in this case, I use John or the boys in this sentence. And then the next one I have the boys or John. But notice boys is closer to the verb, so I do boys mow. But if I put John in that position, I have to have an S. Again, in this case, and this is only with the or, you would choose the noun, look at the noun closer to the verb, and make it match accordingly. Committee can act as one. The committee makes its decision. So now I need an S on my verb. Or the committee can be doing multiple things. In this case, the committee leave. And then last but not least, I am happy. So we use am, a completely different verb from is or are, which are the singular is and the plural are, but we use I am happy. Check capitals, spelling, and punctuation. Capitals are used for all names. The word I is always capitalized no matter where it is in the sentence. Capitalize the first word in a sentence. Capitalize special titles that go with names like President Biden, President Obama, Senator Smith, Senator James. When it's used in front of the name. If I'm saying I'm just talking about a senator coming to visit, I don't capitalize it. Now, if I'm referring to the head of a state, and I know that that's the head of a state coming, then I would capitalize the letter P. Parts of book, story, poem, songs, or movie titles are also capitalized. So here's an example of capital letters use. Senator Smith read in the Washington Post that her father, Dr. Smith, was coming to Virginia to visit her. So she said, "I didn't know that." Use punctuation. You think of the pauses you make when you speak. This doesn't really work to think about our text because we don't usually punctuate text messages. But when we speak, we pause, at least between sentences. So that could be an indication that I need some punctuation. So use commas in these 4 cases I'm going to show you. Introductory items: in the morning, comma. Bill, comma, I'm talking to Bill, give me that egg. When it rains, comma. Yesterday, comma. Dad said, comma, no. Between 2 sentences with a conjunction, I went home, comma, there's my conjunction, and John left for work. Susan loves chicken, semicolon, therefore, comma, she collects all sorts of chicken knickknacks. Now remember that there are conjunctions like therefore, however, nevertheless, that take a semicolon in front, but they need a comma afterwards. But with the fanboys, we put the comma in front. Interrupting information. John, my brother, this is interrupting or extra information. I put a comma here and a comma there. Susan, the teacher, spells poorly, comma in front, comma afterwards. Without warning, comma, I, comma, along with my brother's the extra, I put commas around it. Notice these all come in pairs. My friend, comma, whom I admire, comma, is coming to visit. Use commas in lists. John, comma, Mary, comma, and I ran home. I don't put one here, just in the first words before the and. If there are only 2 words, I don't need a comma either. I fell over the dog, comma, down the stairs, comma, and into a flower pot. I live at 525 Granite Street, comma, Raleigh, comma, North Carolina. Anytime you have an address, that is a type of list. And finally, it is June 7th, comma, 2021. And again, the comma here is between the day and the year. So I need a comma, and that's technically like a list as well. Colons are used when we have lists as well. So I have something like turn on these streets, colon. This introduces and says, I have a list coming. First Street, comma, Tom Avenue. And in this case, I left off the comma because in some cases that is considered optional. You'll need to check with your local test samples to see if they ask you to have a comma there or not. In this case, I have a colon that introduces a business letter. So, dear Mr. Smith, colon. And you see these often when you look at email introductions. Semicolons are used between 2 joined sentences. I love cake, semicolon, he loves ice cream. I love him, semicolon, thus I'll marry him. So we use apostrophes with contractions and possessives. So in this situation, we have they are, so that becomes there with an apostrophe where the A was. Will not is actually converted to the word won't. The apostrophe is where the O and not would be. You are changes to your, apostrophe where the A is. And that's not the possessive your, Y-O-U-R. It is is its apostrophe S, and it's not the ITS of possessive. So that if you have a problem and you see that, just read it is where your its is located, and you can tell whether it's the one with the apostrophe or not. And then in this example, Sally's car is sitting at the women's store in between two spaces. We have an apostrophe with Sally. We have women's, buses, and then spaces. So those apostrophes are all possessive. Check for pronoun agreement. Everyone, one, we talked about how it affects verbs, but it also affects the pronouns that work with them. All of the children should be there. You, your, show that this is Y-O-U-R. The men ate there. This is the possessive. The committee made its decision. Again, we have to check, see whether committee is acting as one or acting as many. And then the herd lost its way. Most animal groups act as one, so you're going to use its. Check for verb tenses. And in this case, we're looking to see if they've used the same tense throughout the sentence. And if it's not, then you need to check to see what needs to be fixed. You may need to look for time clues in the sentence or time clues in the paragraph. John ate his lunch and went to work. Susan will go, but she will leave. I am a student who shares a house. And if you're not sure, then often the tense is really present. It's sort of the default tense to use. Don't use double negatives. These are avoiding non-standard English writing. We speak non-standard English often, and that's okay when we're speaking, especially in informal language situations. But when you're writing, you need to make sure it's formal. So we don't want to use non-standard words or versions of words that aren't really normal written English. I hardly ever eat eggs, so you don't want to use double negatives. That includes things like not, no, no one, nowhere, etc. But hardly is also a negative word. I would not say I hardly never eat eggs. I hardly ever eat eggs. And then there's gonna, woulda, shoulda, coulda, canna. A lot of people use that. You even see that often in the translation on the screen of a film or a TV show. And this is how we speak, but these are actually slang or informal words for these more formal versions. So we have gonna should be going to, shoulda be should have, not should of, woulda should be would have, and wanna wants to be want to are the correct versions. All right, use adjectives and adverbs correctly. So if you're going to compare, either use the words more or most, or use ER and EST. So you don't want to use both. And you can see that in this example. He is the ugliest person I know. Not, I ran quick to the store. I ran quickly to the store. Watch for floating text or floating phrases or floating modifiers or misplaced modifiers or multiple names for these. But basically you're looking at a group of words that are in the wrong place. Lying on the beach, my glasses went missing. And it sounds like somehow my glasses were just lying around on the beach by themselves and they went missing. Likely is I was lying on the beach. It says my. So I would want to correct that to have I lying on the beach. So lying on the beach, I found that my glasses had gone missing would be a correction for that, for instance. I found a book given to me by Sue covered with dust under the bed. And covered with dust sounds like Sue I think the book was actually covered with dust and it was under the bed. So I could say the book that Sue gave me, I found under the bed covered with dust, or covered with dust under the bed. Here we go. Having missed this test, a written excuse was needed. Well, did the excuse miss the test? No, I missed the test, or someone else missed the test. So I would rather say, having missed the test, Bob needed a written excuse. So here are some corrections. Lying on the beach, I lost my glasses. I found a book which was given to me by Sue covered with dust under the bed. In this case, I put a comma here and a comma here to mark that extra information off, and now I know that book is covered with dust under the bed. Having missed the test, I needed a written excuse. So then you need to often combine sentences to either correct them or to create a longer sentence. Maybe that's requested as part of the test. So what you want to do is go through the reading, the list of sentences, find the non-repetitive information, and make it into one sentence. But the big catch here is to make sure you don't have a comma splice or run-on. So you may have to rearrange the ideas and leave out unnecessary words, and then add combining words like prepositions or conjunctions to make one sentence. So let's read this short paragraph, which is often the way proofreading mistakes are presented to us, and see if we can find the mistakes. I'll give you a second to start reading it, and then I'll read it out loud for you. Lucille Ball was beautiful comedic actress from the 1940s to 1970. She first were noticed in a film in 1937. Ms. Ball is known for her series I Love Lucy, as well as over 100 films. She was also the founder of Desilu Studios. She sings, dances, and does slapstick comedy. Fortunately, we can see her films and TV show today on many channels. So let's see if we can see what mistakes were missed in this. So I've highlighted some of the mistakes here. Lucille Ball, comma here, T-O-O, were, and I marked the space between the source and the next sentence, so something needs to be put there. I Love Lucy, the I, the Lucy, maybe the entire title. Between films and she. Desilu Studios, that's a name. And again, right here at the she, I've got she here and she here again, so there must be a combination issue here. And I've got sings, dances, that's part of a list. Do. Then I have the end of this sentence and the beginning of the next one. And then today, I have a comma, and then the word channels. Let's see how it was corrected. So capitalize B for ball. I took out the comma here between comedic and actress. And I don't need a comma here between beautiful and comedic. Here I need she was noticed instead of she were noticed. Here's my period at the end of the sentence. Series, comma, and then I Love Lucy, capitalize the I, capitalize the Lucy. This should be italicized, and a comma here. Period, she. Desilu Studios, capitalize, put a period. Sang, comma. I changed the tense because this is past tense. Danced, comma, and did slapstick comedy, period. capitalize the first letter in the next sentence, comma, and then I don't need a comma here, and I don't need an apostrophe in channels because it's just many channels. Thanks for watching this proofreading lesson or review, and if you need any help with this, please feel free, if you're one of my students, to send me an email request. If you have questions or suggestions or comments, you can list those in the comment section below. Thanks for watching again, and have a great day.